What's going on, losers?
Fixed. What's up?
What you guys doing?
We're just talking about the Phoenix Kickstarter fulfillment. We're about a month in right now, and it's going well. But just like anything else, you know, we've been doing this a long time, and it's still surprising how many issues come up whenever you introduce new products or just subtly change designs.
I have a more important question.
What's that?
What the hell is a THACO?
What? You
What's a
call yourself a
THACO?
gamer?
I don't actually. No.
All right. Do you know what it means?
I do, but only because you told me.
Okay, nice. I have an idea. Anybody watching this, if you know what my shirt means, the whole thing, post in the comment below. $25 gift card for the first person to say exactly what all this means.
That ass crack.
That ass.
Oh yo.
H?
Oh,
Ass starts with an H?
the ass.
That hot?
It's
No, I can't tell. You can't say anything.
no, okay.
All right. What's going?
Sorry,
What is this?
So this is a dice tower and rolling tray for the Phoenix Kickstarter.
Put those over so we can see them.
We're gonna finish up on time. We're at a really good start, but we're kind of discussing some of the problems and issues that we had so that going forward, we won't make these same mistakes.
Right. This janky thing.
This is a prototype.
Tape.
Yeah, this is your work, I believe. So
Me?
yeah, don't be putting down the tape job.
Yeah,
we
didn't
actually-
think that was going to make it into
We actually had a
Yeah.
real one built before we launched the Kickstarter.
We did.
It wasn't actually taped.
It wasn't
I've-
actually taped.
I've-
This is these are the prototypes that we built. This was probably like the third iteration of the prototype
Right.
that we did. Fully, this is well before we launched the project.
'Cause I've seen it done before, where like companies go into fulfillment and they pull their shit out. It's actually just taped together,
Yeah,
and they haven't actually built one.
I've seen that as well.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's,
Yeah,
that's
we
a little
don't
too
do
risky.
Kind of a no-no.
So let's talk about some of the issues that we had. Hopefully, if anybody out there is planning on launching a Kickstarter and manufacturing in the U.S.,
Don't do it.
Don't do minor mistakes like the ones we
Right.
made. So this is the first prototype of the smaller rolling tray. Now it's not glued in, lining's not glued in, but it's irrelevant. So we built this. We've done thousands of rolling trays. This is the first time we've done it at this size.
Yeah, we wanted something like you could use personally and
Right.
it wasn't like table size.
Yep. So this one's actually a little bigger than what we said in the campaign the end result of the rolling tray would be, which is 7x7. So we made this one, and then we know we always put solid hardwood on the bottom,
Not plywood?
not plywood. We never use plywood in any of our products.
Why not? Why wouldn't we use plywood?
Why wouldn't we use plywood? Because it's cheap.
Cheap? And
Yeah.
we're not into making cheap things?
Yeah, we're
Well,
not into
it's
making cheap.
anymore.
Yeah, it's not cheap anymore.
Actually, currently it's like 2.5x.
Right.
So
And hardwood's just better. It's more solid. It holds, completes the look of the product,
Doesn't
takes
ma-
a stain better.
doesn't make it look like trash. When
Doesn't
you
make it
flip
look like
over.
garbage and, convenient
You don't have
store
to worry
items.
about sanding through a layer of ply and
Right.
getting a glue
Yeah.
line around the edge.
So the blanks for this, when we originally cut this, the blanks mean while we're milling up the side rails before they go into CNC. These are about 7.5.
Right.
So we did the sculpts, put it together, looked good for a prototype. We knew we were going to make it about half an inch thinner in the final product. One of the reasons for that is because we use hardwood on the bottom, we don't always get wide boards 6 inches or over, and we wanted to make sure that we could have that supply once we went into fulfillment. So we cut the 7-inch rails. We shortened them down.
Brought them in a little
Just
bit.
brought them in just a smidge. What happened then was this, and you can see it really well from the bottom.
Oh, so you got a overhang.
You got an overhang on the hardware
I see the front.
because of that. And that's just not acceptable.
Oh, I got you. So right in that little crack.
Yep.
Crickety crick cracks.
Yep. So we got off to an early start in fulfillment, right, Jeremy?
Right? It doesn't even stay on.
No, it's not. It's screwed on.
We made
How many of these did we make? Because we wanted to get off to a good start.
25 to 30 of them, and most of them weren't assembled yet. They were just CNC cut, and we had a couple mountains of them. We were working through the actual building process of them when the first ones that we had initially built got to QA, and they went,
Does not fit.
We
yeah,
had like 7 go through the whole shop.
right.
The sanding, assembly, finishing, which is hand applied, so it takes a while.
Right.
And then it goes into QA. They try to do the final step, and they're incorrect.
Right.
Which is whose fault?
Well, not theirs.
It's not theirs.
I think
it's my
it's
fault.
your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah, we should have foresaw that. We should be better at that by now, but we can't. We're not perfect.
Yeah,
We
and
make
that's
mistakes.
it's one of the important things about prototyping every iteration of something. Like a proof of concept is not proof of production readiness.
Correct.
Yeah.
You have to go through a couple iterations where you say, this is the final product, this is how I want it to look when we're shipping it out to the customer.
Right.
And we did like 98% of that
Yep.
here, but we made one final tweak at the last second and did not account for it.
It's the fucking tweaks, man.
Yep,
It's the
it
fucking
sure
tweaks
is.
that'll get you.
Small
Which,
stuff.
speaking of
tweaks.
iteration number 10 we're on of this at this point, because so we've got these interior magnets, and
Jackie.
yeah, let's just get that out of there.
Can you hold it up and face it to me so I can see the...
So we've got these interior magnets here. Originally they were being marked by the CNC. Now the variation on the machine and just any amount of variation in the cut size, it all rolls downhill basically. So you're going to encounter the problems at some point. So then what we ended up doing is going with a plexi template that fit around the outside of this, and you had your locations for your magnet holes based on that. Now the problem with that was then our interiors didn't line up, and if this bottom lip is not perfectly flush, then a die doesn't sit on there properly. It'll sit a little crooked and you don't get a proper roll out of it.
Let me hold it up so I can see the inside. Oh, so where the two pieces
Right
made.
in here.
Oh, I got you, because the front and the back are two separate bottoms.
Right.
So if they're off by like a millimeter,
Exactly.
then you're like dodecahedrons and isohedrons don't hedron properly.
They don't hedron.
Yeah, and then the other problem we had, may I, is this is a new sculpt. We've done literally thousands of these tiles.
Right.
Thousands. But this is a new sculpt. We ran a bunch of them, worked out fine. We started to get into production of them for wave one, and it started to get too thin. Whether people were seeding the bit a little too deeply,
Right.
it's
Such
slight
tight tolerances.
tight tolerances affected. So once we clamp these together for sanding to make sure the edges are flush to one another. And what would happen is, as we clamped, maybe here and here, it would break the sculpt on some of the thinnest part.
Even on this one, you can see there's a little hole right above the guy's head,
Right.
where this one was sculpted a little bit deeper, which that means all of these lower parts of the sculpt are maybe 2 millimeters thick, which
That's-
just allows the whole thing. You can see it's got a little flex there.
That's why you guys made me do all that stupid work fixing it like
Yes,
15
exactly
times.
why.
So Cameron made it thicker.
Yeah,
Made the sculpt thicker.
Made the whole thing just chunkier. We attached it at a couple of more places over here just to give it more rigidity and sturdidity.
Sturdidity.
Yes.
Rigidity and sturdidity. Both very valuable.
And then we were like, cool, let's run with it. We've got it. We got the final thing figured out. But somewhere in the iterations and the complications that we had done, we were getting crooked fitting pieces that would sometimes sit. Maybe this is a little extreme, but you get the idea that like the blanks weren't lining up on the outside. So we thought maybe we oversized the whole thing, cut it afterwards to make sure your sides are all flush. Well, that doesn't really, because obviously the interior is the most important part that has to be seated properly and everything has to be lined up on the interior. The exterior is a little easier and more forgiving to be able to kind of cut it down to the right size.
Because we mate them and then sand them.
Correct.
Usually, yeah. But if you're talking about that much, I mean, you're not sanding,
Yeah.
a quarter inch off of each
Plus
side
it's
of
Jankville. Like,
it. Right. It just
Jank City on the front.
Welcome to
Which-
Janktown.
which one of the biggest concerns there is that it's frustrating for the people on the floor who actually have to deal with this stuff. They're like, did I do something wrong? Because this doesn't look right. And I'm like, well, there's every little millimeter you could be off on the original cut, on the CNC cut, on your template guide all of those things compound into each other, and that's how you end up with, a 3 or 4 millimeter offset, and that's now extra work in sanding. These things should take 10 minutes to sand, maybe, but if you're looking at that, it's going to take you 25 to 30 minutes to sand. So a lot of...
And that keeps me up at night.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the problems that we have weren't necessarily like, this product is garbage, it's not designed well. It was little things like we're increasing the workload and the frustration of our people on the floor,
Right.
because they have to deal with little slight variations and have to have a super controlled tolerance on it for the product to even be usable.
And we have a great crew, and we don't want them to be angry
Right, and
while they're working.
they're all smart too, so
Right.
it's not like, it's not like we have a crew of inexperienced people out there who, when they do this, you're like, well, you probably did something wrong.
Right.
Our crew, when they comes to us and says, hey, this isn't right, you go, yeah, there's probably a problem there.
I like it when Travis is like, hey, can I talk to you in J&J's office for a minute? I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And he came in, he's like, here's my list of demands. Like, you messed this part up, I need you to fix this and this. I'm like, yeah, dude, I got
Yeah.
you.
I'm gonna hold your CNC's ransom until you
Yeah,
fix
right.
everything.
Yep. But luckily, we got off to a good enough start where
Yeah.
this didn't set us back. All the problems are fixed now.
Mhm.
It's just good little lessons, right? And it's not like we didn't prototype these and build them ahead of time.
Most
We did, we
most
just-
of it is just a different version of a product we already had.
Right. So, we're
it's-
insanely confident that we could do it.
right,
correctly.
which maybe overconfident in
Yeah,
some
probably
ways.
we are overconfident on occasion. So lesson learned.
Don't
Tweaks.
get cocky.
Don't get cocky. Don't make tweaks without thinking about future
Yeah, all the
consequences.
ramifications.
Yeah.
And if you are going to make a tweak, maybe do a prototype or two of it and see, oh wow, I didn't even think of this thing
Yeah.
being a factor that would be affected.
Good. So we will never make this mistake again.
Wrong.
Wrong.
We'll make this mistake on everything and we'll iterate through it and make it perfect.
Good. How much you think nobody knows what this shirt means?
THACO YOLO, there's surely some grognards out there.
It's
See,
a,
I know,
it's a grognard
grognard.
I
thing.
know what a grognard is.
I don't know what a grognard is.
I don't. It's like a ball rod, but backwards.
Okay.
I hope this is informative. I think we learned a lot. Grognards, rigidity, tweaks,
Stability.
stability.
All right, well, have fun playing with your wood in here, guys.
Thanks.
I'm out.
So yeah.
Bye.
It's okay to forget to reduce your hit points after you've taken damage. If your DM notices, blame it on bad math skills. If you're an engineer, or a mathematician especially,